Welcome, everybody. We are here at the USA Archery Rebel Gear Buckeye Classic in Dublin, Ohio. My name is Chuck Cooley. I'm sitting next to Aaron Mickleberry. We're going to be walking you through the matches this afternoon. Up first, we have Compound Women. Compound Women will be shooting at 50 meters today. What do you think, Aaron? This beautiful field that we've got out here today?
It's a great field, great weather we had at this tournament. No weather delays, no thunderstorms. It was actually really nice.
Yeah, I have to say, of all the years that I've been coming to Ohio here to this Dublin event, I mean, normally we're up a little farther on the field. We're in the field that's, if you've been here before, we're in the field that's in the far right-hand section. But the weather has been absolutely spectacular. You know, it was set up for some really stellar scores to be shot this weekend. There was, like this morning, there was zero wind. It was a little bit overcast. It's absolutely the kind of weather you want to shoot in.
Yeah.
This afternoon, the breeze has picked up just a little tiny bit, but I don't think it's anything that these archers won't be able to handle. It's just a little bit of a drift from left to right as you're looking at the targets. There's maybe, I don't know, 2-3 miles an hour, if that.
Yeah, it's not much to make you have to aim off, just enough to maybe kind of like
put a couple of clicks into it.
Yeah.
So what we're watching here in our first match is going to be Danelle Lutz. She was our number 4 qualifier. She's on the number 1 bale. And also Linda Ochoa-Anderson. She's the number 2 qualifier for the weekend. And that gets the first end underway. In the box behind Linda.
Looks like it's Cassidy Cox. The flags are in the way.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was waiting for the flag to kind of shift out of the way there. So one of the cool things about this style of shoot-off archery is you have archers competing on the line, but you also have a coach in the box. And so Linda has chosen Cassidy to be her coach. Danelle has been coached by her husband, Jimmy, who we'll see here in just a little bit as well. He made the shoot-off.
I think it's kind of mandatory for the husband.
I think, I think if you make it to this match, you're involved. And then, of course, downrange, we have arrow agents. And the arrow agents serve as somebody to assist in calling the arrows, pulling the arrows. More or less, they are there to be a voice of the archer in case something comes up. There's a question on the scoring or an arrow call or something like that.
Yeah, they're the advocates. They're watching the judges, making sure that, like, hey, I want an arrow call on that. Or,
let's get another set of eyes on that. So, and again, this is these archers are shooting at 50 meters. It's about 55 yards if you don't know how to do the conversion.
Long enough.
It is a fairly long way. They're shooting at an 80 centimeter face. Now the 80 centimeter face means that it's 80 centimeters from edge to edge, which means the 10 ring is 8 centimeters. And for those scoring at home, that's about the size of a coffee cup, half a football field away.
Yeah, and then it only goes out to the 6 ring, so anything past 6, it's an automatic 0.
If it's a big miss, it's a 0. Yeah. And they do score it as 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. There is an X ring in the middle of the 10, and that's really only used for shoot-offs and things like that at this point. They'll count the X, but it doesn't assist with scoring at all. You don't get any bonus points for hitting X's. And so the judges cleared the line, and we'll hear a whistle here in just a minute, and the archers will approach. Now, Danelle is leading after this first end, 29-26.
So that means Linda will shoot first.
Yep. Linda will go up first. Linda's coming off a pretty hot week.
Yeah, she is. It's amazing to watch her shoot. I used to watch her shoot for Mexico, and when she moved to shoot for the USA, I got to travel with her on the international team, and it's great to watch her.
She just won a silver medal in the team round with Jimmy at the World Cup.
That she did at Columbia.
Yep. What was that, a week? Maybe 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago?
They came back on Monday. So
yeah, the schedule all blurs together.
Yeah, after a few months.
Yeah, it does. And you can see they're shooting alternating arrows, which means one archer shoots, and then the next archer has 20 seconds to fire their arrow, which is not a lot of time.
No, especially if the wind picks up and like you're trying to hold that in compounds. At least they have a little let off, so they're not holding the full weight, but it's still enough that.
You know, I think with recurve, and we may see this later on, 20 seconds, you can set down, reset. It seems to go a little bit faster. With compounds, it's much more difficult. You rarely see a letdown on compound division.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a letdown, something happened.
Yeah. Donnell, last one to shoot here. 10 seconds on the clock. Great hold. I'm going to have to grab my spotting scope and see where these are landing because I can't quite see them. Oh, we've got it on the screen. Wow, nice group over there. Linda looks like... I was watching Linda in her matches earlier, and... in the elimination rounds coming up to this, and she was laying them right in there. She was doing a great job.
Yeah. You guys not doing the calls?
No, we're not. Nope. So for what it's worth, that's somebody behind us asking them for hearing the calls. So I'm just setting up a spotting scope here at the table. So I'll kind of...
Yeah. It looks like they pulled Jack Williams to be Donnell's arrow agent and Catalina to be Linda's agent.
Yep. And it's a pair of 30s down there. Great shooting. So 10 points, 3 arrows, maximum score of 30 points per end. So if I'm reading it right, that means Donnell will have a lead here. It'll be 59-56 going into the third end.
Yeah, with a perfect score would have been a 60.
Mm-hmm. Those first 3 arrows we couldn't see from Linda, and she definitely drifted over to the right. She had a 998, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty quiet here this afternoon. Not a ton of fans in the seating area, but we do appreciate the ones that hung around to stay and watch this after a long weekend of shooting.
Yeah.
So the judges have cleared the lanes, and the officials given the archers their signal of when to shoot, first and second.
Had a little hesitation there when they set the clock wrong and had to restart and had a false start when people were still downrange, but got it fixed, and there we go again.
Mm-hmm. Linda will go first here. Target number 2.
Winds died down a little bit from the first 2 wins, so
Yep.
might need to do a click here and there just because.
She's got a left side 10 there, right on the line. About in the 7 o'clock position. Donnell sends one right down the middle into the X-ring.
Yeah, she's got it.
And the thing with this format, because it's only 5 ends, if you get a couple of points down, especially at this level, it's really hard to catch those back up. Now there's another wide 8. Really.
That didn't look like it was a clean release.
Super uncharacteristic. We'll see a little bit different scoring system later on today when the recurvers come in. Donnell also drifting to the right. That wind, you can see it's
just
picking
picked
up.
up.
Yep. Pretty good gust coming down those fields, and we've got several hundred yards of open field.
Yeah, and with the 20 seconds, kind of hard to still let down, and you're going to have to hold it and make sure you got it drifting right.
She caught the 10 on that one on the left side. She must have been holding off just a bit there. You can probably hear the wind in our microphones just a little tiny bit. And another X for Donnell. So 29 there and 28 for Linda.
Yeah. Donnell's got to be feeling good with that windy gust all of a sudden come up.
Right? Yeah, with it picking up just a little bit like that, we're just breaking through. There's 2 ends to go. So she's got to be thinking to herself, I really got to Really got to figure out how to step this up
Yeah.
and drop a couple in the middle, put a little bit of pressure on Donnell. It's an interesting dynamic with Donnell being fairly new to the U.S. She's only been here a couple of years. Comes out of South Africa when she got married to Jimmy. Second year together, it was funny. I was asking Jimmy about it, and he's like, "No, a year." And I was like, "You didn't get married this year." He's like, "Oh yeah."
Oh, good. Better make sure he remembers that date.
Yeah, you should write that down.
Yeah.
A good field with the compound women this weekend. 27 women in that compound field. And how that works is everybody gets together. We shoot that first elimination or that first qualification round. 72 arrows, maximum score 720. And then everybody is ranked, and then they do the head-to-head matches.
Yep. They will have person who qualified in first will go against the lowest ranked archer, and if there's buys, they have to have it out. So it's like if there's
we start with the first break is at 32, right? So you've got to hand out some buys to get it to 32.
Yeah, so that would be 64 physical people if we had everyone involved, but obviously there was not, so they had to have buys. So one had a buy going into the next match.
Yep. And good, the weather again this morning. I mean, we got here at we started shooting at 8 o'clock, and the weather was just absolutely pristine.
Oh yeah,
You know,
great shooting weather with the clouds. Like it wasn't baking us like it usually does.
a little spattering, maybe a couple of raindrops, but they blew away quickly, and now we're under blue skies, puffy clouds. A little bit more of a breeze than we had all weekend long, which I think is kind of what's given people a little bit of a fit here in this first match.
At least the humidity died a little bit, so we're not kind of like swimming through the air.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be really toasty, I guess, this coming week, so we got really lucky.
Yeah, thunderstorms coming in on Tuesday, so we beat it out just great.
It's always a little sketchy this time of year in Ohio. It's we can either have this or monsoons.
Yeah, one year at Outdoor Nationals when we had here, we had almost a full day canceled because of storms.
Yep. So ladies coming up now for their fourth end. Donnell leads 88-84.
So Linda will shoot again first.
And this is where she's really got to put some pressure on if she wants to catch up in this match. There she goes, another, about a 7 o'clock 10, just in the, right across the line there. But it looks like she's corrected that wind error that she had. Donnell hits a left side X as well. Great shot from her. She's got that wind dialed in.
Yeah, the wind's turning a little bit from being a slight crosswind to a complete tailwind, so they gotta kind of watch those flags and maybe even listen to the people standing behind them as their coaches, kind of like, hey.
Yeah, you see Linda just reached up and gave a couple of clicks to her sight there. That second arrow really close to her first, but out for a 9. Donnell hits a 10, so she's up by 1 point now. Last arrow also low. She got that left-right thing figured out, but she's sitting a little low. So a 28 there for her 3 arrows. Donnell can shoot a perfect 30 if she gets this one off in the 10 ring. And she hit that wide right for a 29. So she picks up 1 more point. Coming up a little bit later in the broadcast here, our next matches, we've got the compound men, or what they call senior men in USA Archery. After that, we'll have recurve women and then recurve men. Some good storylines in both of those. Some big upsets, some big surprises there to see who made it through to these medal matches. Spirits seem kind of light down here at the shooting line. one of the arrow runners just brought their arrows back. That's how they do it. They've got the arrow agents down there, and then they've got runners that actually bring those arrows back.
Yeah, so we shoot 3 arrows, but during a finals match, you need to have at least 6,
Cause
preferably more.
Because it's going to be a minute before they
Yeah.
bring your arrows back.
Yeah, because you shoot the 3, and then the arrow agent will pull the arrows, give it to the runner, and then they'll wait. So you shoot
Mhm.
another 3 arrows before the next 3 come back to you. It's interesting with the arrow agents. They're not just looking at the scorecards, but they also look at the arrows. It's like if a arrow has a nick in the vein or a point is coming
Mhm.
out, they will flip it around, and so when the arrow agent brings it back to the
I've
archer,
seen
the
that.
runner.
Yeah, if you've watched these broadcasts in the past and you've seen that, that's why. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like the non-communication way to send a message to the archer. Hey, double check this arrow because something doesn't look quite right.
Yeah, and even like if there's nothing wrong with that arrow, if it's out of the group, sometimes the agent will flip it around just to say, hey, if this wasn't you, you might want to just have another arrow just in case.
Double check
And
that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, we saw that with Louis Price in his elimination round. He had a really big miss off to the right, which is again pretty uncharacteristic for
Mhm.
Louis. And one of his veins had just lifted just a little tiny bit.
Just enough.
Yep, maybe caught another arrow and it sent it wide right.
Yeah. We see with the compounders, they have a little stiffer fletching than recurvers do, so they can take
Much.
a little bit more of a beating than the recurve fletching.
Yeah, and you'll see different attachment ways with compounds. Generally, they're glued down, and recurves are oftentimes a spin wing or something like that, which is taped down.
Yeah, double stick tape.
Mhm. Linda's up first here on our final end, down by 5. Sends her first arrow right in there.
There you go.
Beautiful. Just off the X ring, or just off the X itself, still in the X ring for 10 points.
And it's always nice. It's like when you shoot the
That
X.
one's going to be a 9. It's
9?
right on the line, but I think they're going to wind up calling that out. That's a tiny little shaft.
But yeah, it's like when you shoot the X, sometimes we call it hitting the spider. And
Mhm.
It's always nice to see because that is dead center.
Another 10 there from Linda. I mentioned to somebody the other day, they shot the spider, and I said, you hit Charlotte.
I haven't heard that one.
Another 10. They were young enough they didn't catch the joke, and I felt incredibly old. Linda down to her last arrow here. And she closes it with a 30. Great shooting.
Yeah, from down here, it looks like it's a one shadow.
Yeah, one little wad right there. Last arrow. Ooh, wide right for an 8.
Ooh. But that's still...
She had enough to carry it. You know, Linda did
Still
exactly
enough.
what she needed to do. She shot a 30, put the pressure on her. But it looks like Donnell's going to miss 3 points there, but that'll still give her a 2-point lead overall. Ten, 8.
It looks like they are going to...
Yeah,
Have
you
a
can
line
see the
judge
official
call,
down
yeah.
there. They've got the magnifying glass, and this is one of the really good things about USA Archery is those guys will get right in tight and they'll look at it, and they try to look at it from 2 or 3 different directions with the idea that, you know, you want to call the arrow correctly, but you want to give deference to the archer. You know, if it's there, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's, and all it has to do is touch that line, and you get that higher value. It doesn't need to be completely inside the scoring area.
Yeah, the hardest part for the line judge is if the arrow hits another hole, because then they have to kind of not necessarily make believe, but kind of like, okay, the line should be right here, and that's when it kind of gets hard. And
Yeah, they have to recreate that
Yeah.
line there, and recreating that line is where that human element comes in. You know, is the paper wrinkled? Has the paper been pushed? Has the arrow torn the paper? It does make it difficult, but quite honestly, these judges go through a lot of training and a lot of effort, and they really, really, really want to get it right. You know, I've talked to these officials over 20 years, and they've had to make some really complicated and really difficult calls, and these calls mean a lot of money to these
Yeah.
archers, right? So the last thing in the world these guys want to do is get it wrong.
Yeah.
So they take a lot of time and a lot of energy to actually get it right.
Yeah, because it's not just the prize money from USA Archery; it's also
Yeah.
the sponsor money that they have from
Mhm.
their equipment that can send them differently.
Yeah, there's sponsor money. There's a lot of different things that go into it, and at the end of the day, you know, you want to make sure that you've got some legitimacy to the calls. That the archers, I mean, they're down here. They're 50 meters away. They're not at the target, but they can't make the call themselves. So they've got to trust that that person down there is doing the right job.
Yeah, and that's where the agent comes in and goes,
Yeah.
hey,
Yep.
take a look.
Yep. Take a look. Make sure we get this right. So let's see how they finally scored that out. Yeah, I see the.
Nope, they're
Yep.
going to let him leave the range. They
Yep.
did make the call.
Yep, I saw the officials were over in the corner talking to the arrow agents and calling in those scores. They do those by radio call, so they call it back to the table here. So that wraps up our first match of the afternoon. That was the compound women, the senior women. Danelle Lutz taking that match 144 to 142 over Linda Ochoa-Anderson.